Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another Fireside Chat edition of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers. This is the holidays, so we're coming to you live from a very luxurious atmosphere and enjoying the holidays. Cheers. But before we get into Young Thug, which is what we're reacting to today, this episode, like all of our episodes, is brought to you by what? What'd you say? I said eforms.com. That's eforms.com. You know, when I like to do something, I don't like to reinvent the wheel. So that's why, if necessary, I go to eforms.com. I just did it the other day. I had to get a power of attorney for a client who was in prison and get him to sign it for his wife so she could act on his behalf. So these are really important legal things that you can do yourself and not cost you a whole lot of money. So go to eforms.com if you need any legal form. Doesn't matter what state you're in. eforms.com, whether it's power of attorney, bill of sale, eviction notice, anything, eforms.com has you covered. So here's the deal. We are today reacting to what to look forward to for Young Thug. What's going to happen with Young Thug? First of all, you're hearing that people are taking deals left and right. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that those people are actually taking deals because they're snitches, okay? You've got hierarchy in this organization, and you've got people who are low-end players and people who are medium and people who are high. And before they get to trial, I think the state wants to just get rid of all the low-level players that they possibly can. That doesn't mean they're not taking a deal where they're snitching, because that could be as well. But you won't know that until the trial starts. And here's the other thing. Remember we reacted to the interview that Young Thug was doing with Wallow? Remember Wallow was in prison for a long time, and he was kind of counseling him, you know, on a podcast. And we did that kind of a while ago. I'll show you a little bit of that here.
For some of y'all young niggas in here that still be living that shit, I don't be talking to y'all on Instagram as some square-ass, lame-ass nigga. I'm talking to y'all as a nigga that been in a prison yard and see little young boy come in with his tattoos on his face. Let me see your paperwork. When I'm going home, 2073. Cease. And now all the gangster shit gone.
That is real. That's 100% real. You know, here's the thing. I love what I do. I love criminal defense. I wouldn't have it if people didn't get arrested, but I don't like people getting arrested. And I like to present a message of build. And this is what this guy is trying to warn against.
So when I'm on there, I'm speaking from a place of trying to get niggas some real game. Because I'm going to tell you some shit, it's lonely than a motherfucker in there.
Nothing could be more true. It is lonelier than a motherfucker in there. What is that? That was so prophetic, in all honesty. And I want the young guys to look at Wallow and look at where Young Thug is now and think about the things you're doing. Think about what you're doing and how you're doing and how you're conducting your life. Are you building? Are you building a future, building your financial future, building your education, building your relationships? Or are you running the streets being a fucking thug? And when I say a fucking thug, I'm talking about a guy who's sticking people up. I'm talking about guys who are in gangs. And if you're in a gang and you're leading a gang, you know, why don't you lead them out of the gang? Lead them into some other activity that's not so risky. I mean, it's really risky to be doing the street gang stuff, whether it's drugs, whether it's violence, or whatever. So back to Young Thug. Young Thug is now looking at a very serious case. Very serious case. They're not offering him any deal. And that happens from time to time. And what happens when you do that? Well, you have no choice sometimes but just to take it to trial. Now, I remember he rented a car in 2016, and that's what led authorities when they started investigating the murder of Donovan Thomas. And then the more they started unraveling the onion, the more they saw how Young Thug was involved. Now, if you're the top of the top, generally you're not going to get a deal. And when you don't get a deal, and the state relies on snitches, that's a problem. That's a problem for them, for the state too, for the most part, because there's a motive to lie, right? And these guys are probably liars their whole life. If they're in gangs, you think they tell their employer that they're in gangs? You think they tell their mother that they're in gangs? You think they tell the landlord where they live that they're in a gang? You think they tell anybody where they get their money from? You know, you go down that road, and that's how you discredit a snitch. However, guess what? Do they get any credit for giving information that is false, that's provably false? No, they don't. In fact, if they lie, guess what? Deal's off the table. We can't use you, we're not going to use you, and we're going to take this lie and shove it up your ass. So this case is going to be a very lengthy case. It'll probably be between 6 and 9 months. They're going to have 300 plus witnesses.
It went 9 months, so that's why I came up with 6 to 9 months. You told me to begin with 300 witnesses. What, 6 to 9 months would be, or 6 to 12?
6 to 12, it could last,
You know, they had another case, very similar, not similar, but large case that took almost a few years ago, and so they're kind of likening that other case. So let's look at this. Young Thug's brother, Unfook, he got a deal where he had a 12-year sentence that was commuted down to 2 years with 10 months probation, time served. I'll be honest with you, I don't understand why they're giving some of these things away. If you remember Gunna's deal, he got time served, and one would think he was right up there with Thug, but I don't know that to be true or not true. But they're giving some of these things just away. So, like I said, Thug's trial is expected to last between 6 months to a year. Over 300 witnesses. They're expected to call several of the witnesses that have taken deals, including Gunna. Now, remember, when he took his deal, he went overboard to say, "Oh, I'm not a snitch. I'm not a snitch. I'm not a snitch. I'm not a snitch. I'm not a snitch." But he has no right to claim the fifth. Now, you know why? Because he's already pled. He is no longer can say he has any risk of legal jeopardy. So they can call him as a witness. And if he takes the fifth, they'll put it before a judge. And if the judge says you don't have that right at this point because you've already extinguished any criminal liability by accepting liability, guess what? He'll compel him to testify. And if he doesn't, he'll sit until he testifies. And that could be up to a year. And that clanging door therapy has a dramatic impact on somebody who has the keys to the jail. Because he does have the keys to the jail if he testifies. So my guess is you're going to see Gunna testify. So the ones that we know that have taken a deal so far was Gunna, Silent Shotty, Unfook, Walter Murphy, and Lil Duke. Those are the 5 that I know of so far. So, generally speaking, when you have a conspiracy case, which is what this is, basically, you have co-conspirators. A co-conspirator's statement can be used if it's a statement in furtherance of the conspiracy. So they don't even have to be there for that statement to get into evidence, if they have it. So, you're going to have, I think, there were 28 on the indictment originally. I think we know of at least 5 that have taken deals. Between now and January 5th is when they're supposed to go back to trial. We know that there are going to be a few more plea deals, probably next week. And they're going to start dropping out of there like flies. And it's problematic when you have this many defendants and this many lawyers and this many witnesses. You know, you're going to have to try. You can't try them all together. There's no way you could try 23 people in the same courtroom. It would be very problematic. So you'd have to break it up. And that's why it's going to take 6 months to a year to try all these cases. So stay tuned. We're going to follow this. If you have questions about what, the procedure or evidence or any other questions, put it in the comments section because we do read those. You know, it's interesting to follow this because this is what I do. I do that. I had a trial that lasted over 7 weeks with 5 defendants. You know, we all got along really well as a team, but they're difficult and there's witness after witness after witness after witness, and the government has investigated this case for years. Stay tuned, follow us, and we'll follow the case. And make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Patreon. Make sure you get some merch if you're so into that kind of thing. And if you're doing this, take an Uber. If you are out there, enjoy yourself, be safe. Be the rock for the ones you love and build. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, police is at my call.